So just to get you started, show you a little bit about how I would create an activity similar to the one you were trying to create in Pear Deck. I have my Seesaw page open and I am in my training class. Usually when it opens on Journal, and this is where the work comes in. As students turn things in, you would see a bar across the bottom that says how many responses needed to be approved. So these activities have already been approved by me. I can add comments. If there is skills listed, I can grade those skills. So if I clicked on these 4 skills were added to this particular thing, and so if I noticed that the students did well at all these things, I could put 4 stars, or I could put only 1 star and hit check. And the students don't see those skills, but they are there. This is the blog I mentioned. So if this is something I wanted to share to the blog, all I have to do is click on publish to the blog. And in my class, the blog is already set up. It's like a web page that the students would see, families would see. It would be open to the internet. So it does just put the student's first name and it shows their work. If they were to record something like I recorded, this is a book talk, like I mentioned, that you might want to use as a way to share the readings that they've been making or been doing. When other people visit the blog, they don't see the names on the side, and the way I see it as the teacher, they would just see this page, the part to the left. It would look like a web page with the work on it that they could click on and comment. They would be able to hear recordings that people had made, etc. So that's enough on blogs. Let me get back to the journal. When Seesaw opens, the journal comes here. It opens first. Your students would not see each other's work. They would just see their own. They could, if you put work in folders, like when you assigned an activity or created a post, you could create folders, and then they could click on just math and they would see only the things that are in a math folder, or morning meetings. That's the only thing I have in a folder. Like I said, I don't actually use my class because it's just for training purposes, but that's one way that folders work. You can add as many folders as you want since we are Seesaw for Schools. Activities is where most of the real work happens, and this particular activity is the one that I wanted you to assign to your students. The nice thing about adding it to your class is that once you add it, you can actually complete the activity as a student. So when I click here on add response, I have a sample student in my class that I can do work as. So this is what it looks like to the students, and I've already done some work. So here's my eraser. I already have, oh, no, I don't. That's not my work. Here's the little video I was talking about. So they would click here. And they would listen to the little video. And what you're seeing is his mouse. He's recording his screen as he talks, and he's pointing to different places, and he's going to point to some of the items that he wants you to use. Part of the reason for showing this image of the screen during these videos is that once you start to record your screen, the tools that would appear down here at the bottom disappear. So these tools and the color panel and the tools on the side disappear as the video is being created of his page. So then what the students do is, after watching this particular video, it's going to give them directions on what to do for this page. Each page has a different assignment or different instructions, and then when they click on the next page is the part where the students are doing any work. There's no video on here, but the directions in this video told them that go to the next page and to use the pen to write their name. So they would pick up the pen, they would choose a color, and then they would, if they wanted to, change the size of the pen so it's not too skinny or too thick, and then they would start to write their name. Of course, cursive on a keypad is rather interesting, but anyways, there's my name. And the students would work their way through each of the tools. So it's going to talk about the text tool, the microphone tool, camera and video, how to use shapes and backgrounds, how to use captions, how to zoom and expand your page, even more, how to record over multiple pages, how to place a link on a word or shape inside of Seesaw, and how to create multiple pages. So this video or this activity, once it's assigned to the students, is something that they can use to get comfortable with Seesaw. A couple of features. There is a draft feature. So if I, as a student, am not finished with all the pages in my assignment, I can click draft and it won't get turned into the teacher. View instructions. If I forgot what it is I'm supposed to do, I can click here. And if there were a video attached that showed me what I needed to do for an activity, they would click on the side over here to see the video, then just close this window. And then when they're finished with everything, they just click on the green check mark. So I'm finished. It's going to save. And it would go to my journal. And so here's the sample student, and it's my work that I have done. And of course, it's not finished, so the teacher could send it back to me. I'm not going to save that. I'm just going to delete it and move on. So when I share in email, I share a link to this activity. It's going to come to you and it's going to open up, and then there's going to be a place where you can save it. Then you would assign it to your class. So in a few minutes, I'm going to start to make an activity, and I'll show you the two different ways to assign it. Once it's assigned to your class, this is how you get the student link. I can get a student link to this activity, and I can copy that link, and then I would go to my Google Classroom class, and I have a couple of those that are training classes, and I would, when I find my training class, create an assignment in Google Classroom just like you would any other time. Create an assignment, take that link and put it right here. And so instead of going to Pear Deck or GoFormative, it's going to take them right to Seesaw. And if they are a member of my class, they won't have to sign in. It'll give them just a second and then sign in. You would type in the directions and everything else like you normally do, and then assign it. So I've completed the rest of the assignment, and I would go ahead and schedule it. If you want this to appear on Wednesday of next week, then you would just click ahead like you normally do and schedule it for Wednesday. Whoops, I can't schedule mine for Wednesday because I made my due date on Friday. So I'm going to schedule mine for tomorrow, and that assignment would show up in their Seesaw class on the day it's assigned, and they would just click here, and it would take them right to that activity in their training class. If you notice, they saw their class for just a second, but they would be here. They would not see the items at the bottom where they're sample students. They would just see this part at the top, and they would click on Add Response to get started. So that's a little bit about how to add a Seesaw activity into your Google Classroom. Now let's go back, and I'm going to create an activity. So I'm going to click on Add an Activity and Assign. I'm going to start from scratch, and I did a few screenshots from Engage New York for one of the lessons you've been working on. The one that didn't work, you would add instructions here, and one of the nice things about Seesaw is that you can put the tools right into the directions. So let me do that for a second. Okay, I've finished typing in all my directions, and if you notice, the directions right now have colons around some of these words. Those are shortcuts. I am going to include in your email a link to this page on the Seesaw Help Center where all the shortcuts are shown to you. This is where I do screenshots if I want these images to appear on the pages, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit, but I use the code inside my directions to get the directions to look like this. So this is what it looks like to the students. I'm going to go back in and edit this activity, but if you notice, the word add with a colon in front of it and a colon in back of it puts in this icon. So the other icons are showing up in the directions for the students to see. One of the other things I love about Seesaw is that you can add voice instructions. So if I click here, I'm going to read the directions to the kids and it will record that. And that way they can repeat my directions anytime they want to by clicking on the student instructions page. Click on the add to begin working. I didn't finish, so I'm going to stop for just a second. It's going to process right there. And then if I had read it all the way through, this is what it sounds like. Okay, I'm going to throw it away. Okay, now my recording is correct. One thing to remember is that you only get 2 minutes for the recording in your instructions. So when the kids see the directions, this is what it looks like, and they can click right here to play the directions. Okay, and I won't make you listen to all of that. The other thing that is helpful is I mentioned that I would, when I'm finished with this activity, add a multimedia piece to my directions. It could take them to another website entirely, like it could link them to a video that someone has already made teaching this part of the lesson, or it could link them to a video that I make. So I'm going to come back and do this later after I have the student template created. This is one part where teachers first getting started with Seesaw get confused. Do not put the students' work here. This is not where the students would be able to write and add a response. Student work is going to come down here. So what I've already done is I went to Engage New York and I found the lesson and the page that you were trying to share with Pear Deck. And I could do the same thing you did, which is make a copy by doing a screenshot of those 6 problems. Now, one thing I like to do is give kids more room to work. So I didn't do a screenshot with all 6 in one. I did screenshots with 3 problems in a row. So when I click on add, let me go back, delete and start over. I want to upload a file, a photo, or a video. So I'm going to go and pick out those screenshots that I did earlier, and there are 3 of them. So I'm going to hold down my shift button to click all 3 at once. When they come in, sometimes they are not in order. So sometimes I have to move them around, maybe C, D. So this one needs to move over, and then F, H. So now I'm ready. They're in the right place. I hit the green check mark to bring them in. And now these are already on the page, and I think they are locked in place. When I use the move tool, it lets me move things around, but this is locked in place. These 3 dots, I could unlock it. For instance, I don't necessarily want it all the way to the edge. It sort of bothers me a little bit if I did unlock it. Having them behind the tools. So I might make it a little smaller, and then I might move it down a little bit so I have some room for directions at the top, and then lock it back in place. I'll do the same for all 3 pages. Bring it down a little bit. Make it smaller. I had to turn my recording back on because it will not let me change my features when I pause the recording. The button I need to see is underneath the paused recording. So once again, making it just a little bit smaller and moving it down, and then locking it back in place. Now I want to add some directions on each page. One way to do that is to add a label at the top. So I click on text and I have a label. I usually make my labels a little bit different. So the directions said solve. I want mine to be a little bit more specific. I'm going to repeat, solve these problems using. Okay, I started to type my directions. One of the things I like to do is make the directions look a little different. So when I click on the 3 dots below this label, I can change the style, and I want it to be dark with white letters. I like to use narrow letters because it gives me more room. And I'm going to add some of the images from of the tools. So I'm going to say use the blank tools to show your work. And I've already done screenshots of those tools. If I haven't, I could do the screenshot now. Like if I wanted to get a picture of the pencil tool, I'm just going to take my screenshot, make it really small. Oops. The pen tool. Part of the reason I do this is that I don't really want the kids to do math with a highlighter and a glow pen, which are these two tools. They will probably need their eraser. I also want them to use labels if they're comfortable typing. Whoops. So I'm going to move this over here and try to get a good picture of the label tool. And that one is a circle, so I want the kids to see that circle there. And I also want them using their microphone. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the microphone. But like I said, I could also do the screenshots from this page where there's images on the side. Back to my activity, I'm going to insert those images by clicking on the photo, but I'm not going to take a photo or make a video. I'm going to upload the screenshots that I've already saved. So once again, click on the bottom one, hold down the Shift key and click on the top one, and all the images come in. I'm just going to make them smaller and put them up here in my directions. I might want to actually make this a little larger. I want the microphone to go first because if they don't add the microphone first, it won't record their work while they are drawing. It won't record their drawings. It'll just record their voice after the drawing has already been made. So it doesn't matter what order they're in, but they're on the page to help me remember to encourage students to use those tools. Use the blank tools while you work to share your thoughts. Guess I should have finished typing before I put it on there. And I'm taking a lot of time to get this right because I'm going to eventually, after I get it right, I'm going to copy these same directions to the other pages. So once it's all set, I would want to now that the handles are on it, I can just do Control-C and I can paste those on the top of each of the other pages. And I don't have to rewrite them. The other thing you can do is set up your page with the directions first and then add the images at the bottom. I'm just going to do a screenshot again of all these tools in a row. So it's only one image that I'm putting into the next pages. And then unfortunately, you do need to lock things in place because the kids will mix everything up. So each thing I've placed where I want it to be, I'm going to lock in place so they won't be able to move it while they're working. Now, eventually your kids will start to realize that they can unlock things, but then you have a reason to fuss if you tell them they were already locked, leave them alone. On these pages, I would get my directions in the right place, lock the directions in place, and then I can insert that new screenshot that has all of my images together. on top where I need it. And lock it in once. Now, once you get this done well, you don't have to start from scratch the next time. You can copy and paste or copy and edit the activity, and then all you do is change the image at the bottom. So now I have all 3 of my pages that I want the students to work on. I am going to add an empty page at the bottom now, and the reason I'm doing that is that I want to add an image of a speaker. And I have one saved that I found somewhere on the internet. It's just an icon that has a speaker image. And I'm going to leave it really huge on this page. When you record a page, it's going to record the image behind what you're working on. So when these students record this page, it's going to record the whole thing, and it's going to show their writing, which I'll do in just a few minutes. And it's going to have the image with my writing on top of it and my voice over it. So on this page, I want the directions. I'm going to go back here, and I usually use my phone to get a good picture so that I can look at my phone to read the page while I'm recording on the page that does not have the directions. On this page, I'm going to turn on the recorder, solve these problems, use the strategies we learned together in Zoom, use the microphone, eraser, pen, pencil, and label tools while you are working to share your thoughts. I pause the recording, and then I could listen to it or repeat it. And then when I hit done, what it's done is it's made an image that is a video right here. I don't want to see that video. I just want to be able to hear it. So I take and get a hold of it with these handles, and I make it really, really small. Then I can copy it and put it on the top left side of each page. I would teach my students to click on it. And what I might want to do first is insert a shape of a different color, a rectangle maybe, and I want it to be smaller and maybe red so that it stands out different from my directions. Put it at the top. And I'm trying to put it on top, but my order is wrong, so I have to change the order and bring this to the front. Bring to the front. Okay, that way when I put it back up here now, it's going to be there, and I lock it. I could also add a very teeny tiny red label that says how do I make that smaller? I'm going to get my handles back, and I'm going to make it tiny. Then when I put it up here, I can get it the size I want and lock that in place. Now when the students click up here at the top, and they just start and stop. I'm going to unlock this because I noticed a mistake. Okay, I've added my rectangles on the second and the third page. I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to copy those same directions again and put them onto each of these pages. So if the kids forget the directions, they can click up here at the top, and it will play again for them. Now, you might think this is overkill, but once it's there and it's right, then I don't have to worry about it again. My directions are pretty much going to stay the same on all Engage New York lessons. All I'm going to do is I'm going to change the problem down here at the bottom. I don't need this page anymore, so I would delete the entire page by clicking on these three dots and throw it away. Now I have 3 pages where the kids are going to do their work. The directions are on there. It tells them which tools I want them to use. They can hear my audio directions again. So I am ready to hit submit. I am going to post this activity, and I am going to complete it as a sample student in order to make a video recording myself do this activity. So under activities, here's my lesson, 2nd grade, module 1, lesson 8. I can click on add a response and then sign in as the sample student. So I would record right now what I want the directions to be when the students do their work. I could turn on my Loom, which is already on at the moment, and I could pretend to be a student. So I could say, in order to complete this activity, I'm supposed to do the following. If I need help, I can click back up here on my directions and they will play out loud. When I'm ready to go back to work, I close that and I begin working. I'm going to be using these directions if I needed to. I can click my move tool and click up here to hear the directions. So when I'm ready to begin working, I'm supposed to start with my microphone. I click on the microphone and I'm going to do a new recording. It's recording me talking, but it's also recording my pen strokes. So I'm going to pick up a pen, and I don't need any kind of fancy colors, but I want to make sure my pen is pretty small. It's set on the smallest setting. And the way I got that up is I clicked on it and held, and it lets me change the thickness of my pen. So on problem A, I'm supposed to solve 12 minus 9 equals blank. And Ms. Lael, I don't know exactly how you want them to solve this, but I'm assuming that when they break it into parts, I can think of 12 as 2 plus 10. And I know in my head that 10 minus 9 is 1. So if I do this and do a math problem that's pretty simple, I have 1 left on this side and I have 2 left over here. So 3 would be my answer. But this would be the teacher's opportunity to record how they want it to be solved. So now I'm going to think of problem B, 22 minus 9. I'm going to break 22 down into its 2 parts. And I'm assuming one of those parts is 20, and the other part is 2. And then I might break 20 down into its parts that are smaller to make them into numbers that are easier for me to solve. And like I said, I'm not sure how you want the kids to solve this. I have not taught a whole lot of Engage New York. So I'm assuming I'm going to bring this 9 down here, and I'm going to take 9 away from one of those 10s. 10 minus 9 is 1. So now I have to add it back together. 10 plus 1 is 11, plus 2 more is 13. and I would do at least some of the problems and stop my recording and save that recording to add to my directions. So I am going to hit done. As the sample student, I have finished my recording on this page, and this is the student's recording right here. This is what they would hear, what you would hear as you're looking at their work. And I can stop the recording at any point just by hitting the button to stop, and it would start again. When I'm finished, I hit the check mark, and it's sending my work to the teacher. So here is my work. If I did not finish it, or if I needed to go back and work on it again, I could go under activities, and I could click back where it says add response, or as a student, on the journal, if I accidentally turned something in and I wasn't finished yet, I could click here and I could click on edit the post, and it would let me go back in as the sample student and continue working to do the rest of the pages. I would click on page 1 again, and I might need to do a new recording. Students can do the same thing that, not with their pen chosen, but with the move tool chosen. Students can also catch that recording and shrink it down and put it over here by these two problems, and they could do a new recording while they solve part C. Then they would move to page 2 and record, and then move to page 3 and record, and then turn it in. If a student were to click on draft, this is what it looks like to that student. When they come back, all they have to do is click up here, and it takes them back in, and it lets them do their work. I can edit, and it's going to take me right back into where my work was, where I left off. Hopefully those are all helpful. Once my recording is finished, I'm going to actually delete this activity because I don't want it assigned yet. I want to edit this assignment, and I want to add my video right here. The video of me doing some of the math problems. I can click here and I can upload a file from my computer, which I would have downloaded, and I don't know if I have a recording right now, but let's say it's this, that's a picture. My downloads would have the videos in them. So here's a video. It's not the right one, but it's a video of clearing cache and cookies. If this was my video that I just made, I would click on it and it would show up. And it would be a video the students could start on. When I hit this send button, that it's good, it's going to show up at the top as a directions video. And then when the students see the activity, the video is off to the side that shows the directions. The directions are here. They can listen to my voice. They can watch this video to show them how it works. And then they would start to begin to click on add response. I do probably want to edit the activity and change the directions. Add something about click on the once again, you would, after it's posted or scheduled, you would click on get a student link, copy that link, and then paste it into your Google Classroom class as a way for students to open directly into that activity. I am going to delete this at this point. Under activities in my library, the assignment that I just made is there. If I wanted to assign it to a class, I could pick which class I want to assign it to. I don't have to assign it to all the students. So I could pick either all the students in my class, or I could pick just a couple people. Everybody that is signed into my training class might not want it. When I hit the check mark, it goes on. I can pick a folder to put this in. So when I click on folders, it's going to go in the math folder. If I don't have a folder ready, I could click here and make a new folder. If I wanted to, I could add skills. So I could type in or search to add a skill. I'm pretty sure that this is decomposing numbers, but you can put in whatever you want to. If you know the actual codes for it in Standard Course of Study, you could put the code in. Add more information. It goes for all the grades I might teach. And then that skill is attached. So I used this, and now I'm ready to hit the check mark. I can click here if I want to assign it right now. If I want to schedule it for a later date, like you want to when you're scheduling your activities, I'm just going to click on it and choose the date that I want this to be assigned. So maybe I want it for October 1st. It is sort of a good idea to have them show up early in the morning so they're there when you're ready to start your day, but they're not there before you're ready to have the students work on it. Whoops, my day disappeared. And then when I hit the check mark, it comes up, and that way it would be assigned on a certain date. When I go back to my class, once again, I'm going to get that code, that student link for this activity to share in Google Classroom. Hopefully this video has been helpful.